Welcome into the Zero1. We are so happy you're here. There's so many things you could be doing in your home and in your home right now, but we're glad you're choosing to listen to us. We hope you're all safe and healthy. Welcome back in. Matt, how's it going?
It's going okay. I'm having a little bit tired today, but still staying in there. And what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Considering the circumstances, hanging in there and doing my best.
Yeah, and you're in your truck again, right? Recording.
Yeah, this is my new office. It's my truck that I recently acquired.
You could park it right outside my house, and we could wave to each other.
Oh, that would be good. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd feel at least that way. I'd have some interaction with a friend. We jumped on a virtual meeting with a few of our buddies earlier this week and had a drink and caught up on life. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that helped a lot just to see their faces. So to remember that they're actually real.
And I was not. I guess I wasn't surprised that everyone looked a little rough around the edges. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe that was their best, but we all looked a little frazzled from being cooped up in the house for how many? 2 years now? Is that how long it's been?
Yeah, seems like it. Coming on
Maybe two
3.
weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
That was one of the pluses of, I guess, what's going on. We don't always, especially with one of our friends who lives out of town, we don't always get together and have a beer together. So that was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it, and I feel like it's something we could do even when the quarantine's over, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't we? Why didn't we think of this before? But maybe that'll be some of the good that comes out of it. We're going to be able to stay a little more connected as friends and people.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone seemed pretty happy to see each other.
I've been FaceTiming with family too, and some other friends, and it's just kind of odd that it takes something out of the ordinary to help you connect with people a little differently. Have you been doing any of that connecting on your end?
Yeah, I've been FaceTiming some family, and I'm guilty of the same thing of waiting till this big thing hit where we basically can't see anyone. And now
Right.
that people are lonely, we're FaceTiming now. But I think usually we kind of get caught up in our own stuff and we forget the big picture sometimes.
Yeah, there's more to life. Is that what you're saying? What do you think it was like? I know they compare this a lot of times to like the 1918, the Spanish flu, which was a horrible, horrible tragedy. But if they were in the same situation back then and they were isolating and self isolating, what do you think it would have been like?
Yeah, I guess it probably would have been a little bit worse. I mean, that situation's different because they didn't have all the technology to be aware of maybe the flu's even coming. With it's like basically just hitting towns one by one, and then people get sick, and then
Right.
you might have people isolating themselves, uh, and really just more self-reliant. So that's probably worse. Like they probably would have died for a little bit of FaceTime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, I don't think that they had a lot of the modern conveniences that we had, especially just the knowledge of knowing what was coming. So it's not the same thing. But if we were back in 1918 and we were self isolating, I think it would be even more boring.
Hmm.
Um, it'd probably be a lot of time just like sitting across the table and staring at your family and asking them how their day was, even though you know how their day was because you were also there. What else? Candlelight reading, like Charles Dickens books, maybe. I don't know what they
Hmm.
read back then, but that's just what I'm envisioning in my mind. Building lots of fires, like just maybe my purpose in life would to constantly be keeping a fire going. Maybe that's how I'd keep my sanity back then.
But actually, since that's what they're doing anyways back then, so they might actually be used to the boredom.
So it was just normal life back
Yeah,
then.
normal life.
So do we just have higher expectations now, or are we spoiled, or are we just living a higher life? What do you think?
I think we just require more entertainment and fancier lights. We have a shorter attention span, so there's too many good things,
It's a blessing and a curse.
most definitely. So I was curious about you because you don't work from home normally. You're doing that now. And I just wanted to get a sense of how it's going because you have a wife at home and children. So how is this new situation unfolding in your house?
Absolutely horrible. No, I'm just kidding. It is a little difficult for me. I'd consider myself an extrovert,
Hmm.
in the sense of getting my energy from other people and being around new and different people. I love. I will say I love the fact that I can just walk out of my office, and which is my bedroom, and have lunch with my kids and my wife. That part is awesome. But I'm going a little stir crazy having to everything, um, pretty much through email. Not getting to see any of my coworkers or anybody that I'm accustomed to working with. It's a little hard for me. It's not the same talking via email, definitely.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think there's something to seeing someone's face and their just seeing a smile or even a frown and interacting with people in person. So the little things go a long way.
Yeah, and it's not even like the long conversations. It's not like I'm having tons of long conversations with people at work, but you kind of forget how you miss, just those quick little 15-second little, hey, did you see this or did you see that, and have a little quick laugh. You
Hmm.
you miss the little things. At
Yeah.
least I do.
So like the little quirks in a conversation or just tiny water cooler time.
Yeah, yeah, just the little friendships that you get to form. So I do miss those things, and I'm sure I'd adapt like any other thing if this was the new normal.
Hmm.
But I'm also eager to get back to a little more of a consistent or regular schedule.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people are uh, in a similar situation as you, where they're starting to they've been home a little too long, they're getting antsy, and it feels good to be productive.
Right.
Do you think you're more productive now, or less, or the same?
I'd say pretty close to the same. I find it easier to concentrate in chunks at home. There's fewer interruptions. People knocking on the door or people calling, because somewhat less accessible, I would say. So that allows me to take some of those bigger chunks in the day, and that part isn't probably the same for everyone, but that's just been my experience so far.
Yeah, I kind of am the same, where I can get most of my work done in little 2 or 3 hour pushes, where no one's interrupting me. It can be hard though with kids. Like I hear my daughter running around all the time, sometimes screaming. And normally she's at school, but now she's home all the time.
That's where AirPods are like my best friend.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So, and would you, so if you had the choice of working from home, you would probably opt out?
I think I would be really greedy, and I'd want a hybrid schedule, maybe where I worked from home 3 days a week, and then was in the different stores or in the different offices, couple days a week. Kind of the best of both worlds. Get to have lunch with the kids a few times, and then also get that interaction I need to get some energy.
Yeah, I totally get that because I've been working from home for over 5 years now, just over 5 years.
Hmm.
And I've tried like the shared space, like we have some shared offices. You could go in and work in the conference room. Of course, here nobody was there; it was empty. So I paid $20 to go sit in an empty conference room and work. But
So
yeah,
so no one's using those around here. Around we live in a kind of more rural, I guess, area. Not a tiny town, but
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
metro.
we're the type of town that people will get in their truck and have a beer and do a podcast or some work in there. But
That kind of town.
yeah, there's also been times I've thought about renting an office and just going there. But I wouldn't really have any customers here on site because I'm working on game development. All my stuff's remote. So it'd just be like this thing where you get out of the house and feel cold air in your face in the morning. um,
Yeah.
so
So was your intention as you rented out one of those shared workspaces? Was it just to be working around people? Was that your goal in that?
that yeah, exactly. Because even though I'm more introvert than you, uh, like even working from home this long, it's kind of broken me in that way to where you're gonna miss people and you want to see faces because you like everything you describe, all those little things I, for example, was taking for granted. I never really thought about it. And even though when I started working from home the first year, I had tons of energy and it wasn't a problem. Slowly, it kind of grinds on you. And like if you take a little bit of time off here and a little bit of time off there, it kind of builds up and you kind of lose discipline over time. So after working from home for this long, I think about it in a completely different way now. I think about how much discipline I have because the more productive I am, the generally the happier I am. So I think about trying to be productive, and to be productive, you're gonna have a lot of discipline when you're working from home. So that's the number one thing I think about all the time.
Okay. So at first, when you started working home for the first year, you're saying that it wasn't as a person who has a job that you can do independently as a little more of an introvert, that it wasn't a huge energy drain or change for you the first year.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge energy drain. I was younger. My daughter was younger. I wasn't as thick, so I had more energy, and it's kind of like a new adventure. So, but after a year or so, I kind of got the gist of it. And if you develop like any bad habits that affect your productivity, which will eventually affect your happiness, those can kind of be toxic. So it took me a little bit to realize what was happening and identify those and eliminate them.
Okay. So some people, I think, coming out of this whole situation, they're going to be working from home,
Mm-hmm.
maybe permanently, because of just what our economy's become and what people are starting to realize we can do. What would be some of the tips or technologies that you've used that have really helped you to stay productive, like you're saying?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of things. I've tried meditation, and that doesn't work for me. Uh, I prefer like going on a walk or going for a run. That's my form of meditation. Getting some physical activity, uh, and not procrastinating. That's like the biggest thing I talk about is if you have something to do, just start doing it, even if you don't want to, and just try to finish it, and just build up discipline over time.
Yeah, that's big. They're forward-thinking people are really talking about getting outside and getting exercise. And we live in Washington, and our governor, one of the essential things he's mentioned is you can travel to go outside and hike and take walks. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you're in isolation, I think you forget to do those things, and it seems like something that really helps your mental state.
Yeah, I think there's something about nature or fresh air that goes a long ways. Plus, there you see other people outside. Everyone's keeping their distance, but you can wave to them,
Right.
yell at them.
That's
Yeah.
something I've been doing once a week. Is I've noticed that I need that alone time out in nature, and I've been hiking. You actually went with me before the lockdown. We went up one of the mountains, and that really does a lot for my mental state and energy when I go back to the computer and start working again.
Yeah, yeah, just climbing up that sort of Badger Mountain there. And even though we weren't really practicing social distancing because the path is so narrow,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of places people can go. So
Right.
you don't.
So is that something that's part of your routine then? You said do you like walk once a week, or what do you do to schedule that into your work time and or just life?
Yeah, now I have a schedule that I follow, and it's scheduled in, so I'll run twice a week and then do some stretching or some lifting weights. But because I ruptured my Achilles, was it just over 2 years ago now? Like
Uh-huh.
when I couldn't walk or run, like even though I had a smile on my face the day after the surgery, and I was pretty happy, probably because I was drugged up. Uh, like not being able to do that physical activity really wore on me. That was pretty rough. So as soon as I could start walking again, I started walking, and I actually had the pirate leg crunch. It's just like straps to your thigh, and you walk around like a pirate.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was awesome.
Captain Matt Sparrow.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that just people listening should take from this is make that time for yourself, and it doesn't have to be anything special. And don't let Matt trick you. He said he's a little thicker these days, but he was an NCAA Division I sprinter, and he just participated in a local race, and somehow he didn't realize it, but he came in first place. So, I mean, he's doing his thing out there. I'm doing my thing walking, but you can even just walk around your yard, whatever you can do, whatever you're able to do,
Hmm.
whatever you enjoy. Find something that you like, get outside, and get that energy, get that life giving energy that you need.
Yeah, those are great tips. And just one correction, I got first place for 30 plus, 30 years and older. I was beaten by a teenage girl.
Man, out here trying to make you look good. You should feel good about yourself still. There's some pretty trained 30-year-olds these days. It's not a death wish unless you're a NFL running back.
Hmm.
30 is the new 20.
Yeah, that's what well, for long distance running, or I think running, you can get away with it. I don't know. Yeah. Football's different.
That's what we're saying. All of our younger listeners tuned out when they're hearing this portion.
Oh, yeah. We're too old. But I'm on TikTok, so what's up?
You were telling me about TikTok a little earlier. Is that something you're finding energy from as a young hip person?
I guess I'm not finding energy from it. It's definitely interesting. I don't understand it. I could say that much. I got on it because I want to help promote my games and my brand when it comes to making games and connect with the younger audience. Yeah, it's I don't know if you've seen it, but it's quite fascinating. It's like all these different trends. People are dancing and recording themselves. Something that our generation would never do when I think of our generation. Uh, People like putting themselves out there and having a good time. So,
People are a lot nicer these days. It seems like, at least kids. Like all the movies I see, it's like the popular kids are super nice to the nerds and things like that.
mhm.
So I wonder
Yeah,
if that allows TikTok to be something more popular because people aren't afraid to get out there.
I don't know if it's that. I think it's more like what's in as cool, like
Okay.
doing these lip syncing to a song that hundreds of thousands of people have already done. I think that's cool, so that's hip. Like our generation was like, yeah, screw the man, and it's cool to be rude, right?
Yeah, I think that's somewhat what we kind of saw in popular culture. And
Hmm.
I remember MySpace was like the first social media I engaged in, and it was all about like deciding who was in your top 8 friends. I think it evolved to be more and more, but you had to like pick who the coolest friends were to have, or who your actual best friends were. And then like you also had to pick a song that represented you the best on your profile.
Hmm.
So you're really doing a lot of things to like make this image without actually showing anything about yourself.
Yeah, I remember that. And everyone was friends with Tom, right? The creator. That was his name. Was it Tom?
Very, yeah, very much a narcissist.
Yeah.
Tom was making you be friends with him.
Yeah. So he probably made a lot of friends though. So.
So talking about social media, I think that can be one thing that can be draining on people. You know, if you invest too much time into it, there's a lot of comparison of looking at other people and thinking their life's so great. Really, we don't know the whole story. Um, there's a lot of polarization, and maybe less so on TikTok and some of the newer platforms, but definitely a lot of debate and no
Hmm.
middle ground. What but I'm more interested in looking at it from a marketing perspective, and on these new platforms, seeing what people are doing to reach people. And it seems with each evolution, things are becoming more organic. So the
Hmm.
marketing is more and more subtle, where it's you have to not only get your message out there with frequency, but you have to do it in an organic way, in an entertaining way. And it's almost like marketing content versus a commercial. Is that something you're seeing on TikTok, or any of the other platforms you're using?
Yeah. I guess some of the most successful stuff I've had and seen is people telling stories and people saying controversial things. And I don't know, what's your perspective on that from a marketing perspective? Obviously, the audiences are different on each platform,
Yeah.
but it seems like there's still these kind of overarching themes that people hit where you got to have a hook, you got to have a good story, you got to get their attention, you want to have a cliffhanger, you want to be controversial. How does that apply to all these platforms?
I think we got into it a little bit, yes, last week when we talked, but
Hmm.
um, when we were younger, and even 10, 15 years ago, it was enough just to have something entertaining. And I do feel a little nostalgic about some of the cheesy marketing campaigns growing up, but um, I do appreciate how difficult it is to be a marketer these days, because you do have to put a lot more thought into it, I think. And you have to strike a, a chord of being genuine, which is really difficult for some people, especially people that are um, used to more traditional marketing. An example would be, um, there's very few commercials that you can run on broadcast television that would play well on a social media platform.
Hmm.
People will chastise you, people will make fun of you in your face, in your comments, if you just post a TV type ad on your social media platforms. A car dealership has a person yelling about how good the deals are. If you put that on social media, you're going to get a bunch of angry faces or bad comments. Um, but I think as a entrepreneur, as a small business, or as a somebody who's just starting out, it's an awesome opportunity, because most of the time these small brands have great stories, and that's all they have. Um, they don't have $1 million budgets to put together stunning, breathtaking content, but they have good stories about them and why they're doing what they're doing, and that's as genuine as you can be. So on one hand, it's harder than ever because you can't just fake it, but on the other hand, if you're one of the little guys, all you have to do is tell your story in a entertaining way, or in a real person to person, like, hey, I'm a real person, let me tell you my story type of way, and that can resonate pretty well.
Yeah, it kind of gives a voice to the little person.
It does, and it makes marketing more accessible than ever. So I think that's one of the advantages. You're doing, you're an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
You're building a game brand. What are some of the things that you've done that have been the most successful along those same lines?
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of things that weren't successful, but some of the things I've done that they've worked for me is engaging with the audience. When people comment, go out and respond to them, engage in interesting conversations. I've actually met some people that way, to where they do really nice art or program on games, and I'm part of different groups, and I've helped people with techniques with in terms of coding and design, and it's all for free, right? It's just sort of a community of people. And but one of the things on TikTok, I've had a couple views that or posts that have done well, and a lot of posts that haven't. I'm still figuring out TikTok, but one of the posts that did well was I posted this little video about Apple, because I had the new laptop has the USB-C dongles, and you have to plug in these dongles. And there's one configuration with my adapters where you can't plug them both in, so you're trying to shove it in the cable without breaking the laptop. So I posted that, and I just did a little title. I didn't even think about it. I just said Apple sucks, and I angered the fanboys. They came out of the woodworks, and it kind of blew up over the last day and a half with like 100,000 views and a bunch of angry people commenting, "How dare you?" So I've just been engaging with the audience like I've normally been doing and responding to them. And we've had some discussions, some rational, some logical, and some irrational. So it's uh, it's interesting. That's what all I can say about that.
That's beautiful, and the cool thing about that is you never know what's going to catch fire, which is also a danger too. You
Hmm.
say something the wrong thing, and you, I guess, go against your core fan base or your market. That can be a danger as well.
Yeah, and for someone like me who's still learning marketing and everything like that, so there's going to be some. I'll piss off some people. Let's just say that I'm good at that.
That's almost a given these days, though. That's the other thing about social marketing is you have to be okay with making some people angry, because no matter what you do or what you say, there's going to be resistance.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the old fashioned radio shows where people would call in. Like this is the modern day call in radio show, but just amplified by a million.
Yeah, that makes sense. Uh, a lot of emotional people sometimes they don't think for a minute, and they just respond in an emotional state. Seems like.
Absolutely, yeah, and people know that. I don't think that's a secret. It's just if you're doing it for a business, just you got to expect the same thing, because you're gonna have people from all across the board having visibility to whatever you're saying. And I think this is relevant. Kind of the theme of our conversation today is improving life in this new environment that we're living in. And I think no matter what you're doing, you're going to have an ability to market and use social media. So if you have a business, or if you're part of a business, or even if you're building your own brand in some way, um, more so than ever, you're going to have this opportunity, and it's free to you to use social marketing um, as a way to build and better yourself in a tough time.
Yeah, and it's just like this ever growing thing, like YouTubers and even influencers who kind of build their whole career off social media. They're in a situation where they're probably working by themselves a lot of the times, like we are now, using this technology and interacting people through these new mediums.
So, what other opportunities as a business owner, entrepreneur, game developer, what are you seeing? Anything that's interesting going into the future here?
I think there's potential in TikTok. It's taking me a little bit to get used to it. Uh, I think I like the culture there. I've been posting a lot of my stuff on Instagram, which isn't the greatest audience for video games. And in Instagram, sometimes there's this certain things about the culture of where people look really good and other people will feel bad. And TikTok, there's kind of this. Sometimes people are trying too hard to go viral, so it comes off unauthentic. But a lot of people are just having fun on there and being themselves, which I appreciate. It's refreshing coming from like Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah. At some point, do you think it's going to get it's going to turn into Facebook or Twitter though? Where it's more widely adopted and people start to ruin the fun.
Oh yeah, once the mom and dads join, that's it's all downhill right there. Yeah.
Is that always the point where things turn bad? You think in these new technologies when moms and dads start to use them regularly?
Yeah, I have a very unscientific theory that the parents get on, and they tend to be more controlling than they try to control the kids. The kids get upset and they start rebelling, and then people get angry, and then all hell breaks loose.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
I'm super interested in it too. I think businesses haven't used it as a whole, and they're still trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. But I could really see media start, although it's already started to happen. I could see it even more going that way, where feature length movies in the near future could get released um, on these social platforms. TV
Hmm.
shows, Facebook's already doing it. YouTube already has their own content. But I really think that's where things are going when it comes to popular culture, releases of new medias. I think that is the future.
Yeah, and I think it's good in a lot of ways, even though there's a lot you got to be aware of, like with TikTok specifically, that I don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to sit down and watch a 15-minute YouTube video. I don't want to sit down and watch a 30-minute show. I'd rather spend that time with my daughter. With TikTok, people will do quick bits that might be 30 seconds long and you get the gist of it. And then some people are pretty clever. Like there's one person that just does impressions of Obama and Trump, and they're like roommates. And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
one they'll build a fort, and one they'll play hide and go seek, and Trump's hiding behind the curtain, and Obama's like, "Oh, dude, I see you." He's like, "That's frankly not true." I don't do good impressions, but
I thought you nailed it.
yeah.
It sounded like your normal voice, but no, I'm just kidding.
So, and there's just like another guy who's a normal kind of influencer that you would see on YouTube, and he's rolling around. He's building boats out of cardboard boxes, but it's 20 seconds long. It doesn't take long, and I don't watch a lot of it, so I can say, "Oh, that's pretty funny." I'll follow him or like him, and then do my stuff I need to do to tell my story for my games, and then go and code program. So,
It is interesting. I think what you're saying spot on. Like there is not a lot of middle ground. It's either one or the other. We want quick consumable media, but there's still a desire for this longer stuff. We see that most TV shows are an hour now, or whereas in the past it was 20 minutes with commercials. Um, so I think there's not going to be a lot of middle ground, but we're going to see a continued amount of high quality short content, and then we're going to see the longer things that we want to invest in. I mean, we put out a 50-minute podcast and tens of people listen to it. So I mean, there's demand there for this longer type of media.
yeah, soon to be hundreds of people.
Hundreds and
Yeah,
then tens of hundreds.
yeah.
I think about like looking at Instagram and what Facebook does with Instagram. They had a 1 minute limit on videos, but then they expanded to Instagram TV.
Hmm.
And you can start to see people going towards that because there was that demand for more long tail entertainment, and brands to tell their story in a little longer format, or content creators to do that. So, we're already seeing this happening. It's just a matter of time where I think it becomes a little more mainstream.
Yeah, uh, I agree, and I think all these social media networks will, in the long run, be a good thing. I think there's an addictive element that needs to be addressed. But really, what I see is a lot of people finding ways to express themselves through the medium, and to me, that's generally a good thing.
Yeah. So we gotta keep on the future as marketers. We gotta invest in social media, but we also got to get outside. We got
Hmm.
to exercise. What
Yeah,
other
yeah,
things are you doing to find joy as a person who's homebound right now?
yeah. Why I'm always homebound. I find time for myself, and I make sure I give time to my daughter and my wife. I like me and Stella. My daughter, we play with toys every night, and it's just like this break from reality. It's like an hour break, and I get to be Hulk and Spider Man because I want to be a boy. So, and we have a lot of fun doing that. One thing I've been trying for the last 2 weeks is I've been taking cold showers to help me wake up in the morning.
Whoa, whoa! This is a family show. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's probably one of the most miserable things ever. Like I don't look forward to it at all. It hasn't gotten better yet. It's just a
Do you?
way, yeah, it's just a way for me to practice being disciplined a little bit. Like I don't want to do this, I'm just gonna do it.
Okay. And do you feel joy when it's over?
Not really. Usually I feel pretty cold and miserable. Sometimes it helps though. Like today, I'm just kind of going through the motions. I did take a cold one today, yeah, but it didn't do anything for me, right? I'm just kind of going through the motions today, just tired. So
I say, in this the state of the world right now, if you get a shower in, you're winning.
yeah, that's well, a cold shower.
You're winning the day.
So have you tried like any little tricks to help you get through the days yet, or are you at that point?
I think to me what comes to mind is also going to family time a little bit. Where when you're home all day, um, you know what's going on in the house, and you can't go out for special outings. So finding new rhythms. My kids are still a little too young to watch movies and whatnot, but I do really appreciate, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are appreciating, um, these streaming services, and also these major movie, um, studios releasing videos, or movies that they had scheduled as major releases, and or that were in theaters when Corona hit really hard and everything started locking down. They're making those available, right away for people to, view and
Hmm.
rent. And I think that's really cool. I mean, it's a small thing, but having the ability to watch, uh, a high quality movie that would be in the theaters right now, and have a little, movie in night, even though all our nights are in, with the family, and having some snacks and pretending like you're going out to the movie theater. It's not quite the same, but I've found some joy in it. It's been fun to kind of break things up.
Yeah, that's really cool what they've done, and it's definitely better than nothing, right? So
Yeah.
like doing these mock little things, like I've been cooking a lot more with dinner, helping Bianca cook. So, and then Stella, she made unicorn pancakes where they assembled pancakes that looked like a unicorn and they put an ice cream cone for the horn and the eyes. So, kind of
That
little,
sounds awesome.
yeah, little family projects. So, and then she ate the unicorn, murdered it straight up.
Straight up. Cold blooded cooking. A lot of people are doing that right now. You're a good cook, though.
I can cook some things. Yeah.
What would be something that you would encourage people to try that you've tried cooking? maybe you thought it was hard, but then you started doing it and you're pretty good at it now.
Uh, any kind of soup really is pretty easy to make. Uh, Ramen. I know you're the ramen
Yes,
fan. Yeah, you're still craving it.
I finally found some. We'll release a video, or I'll put it on my social media of quarantine noodles, making some delicious ramen like a pro, like one of
hmm
those tasty videos. Anyway,
and hopefully keeping the kitchen clean.
that part I'm still not good at.
I think that's the mark of a real chef, like someone that actually knows how to cook. They keep the kitchen clean when they're cooking. I don't. I don't. So it turns into like a big pigsty.
That's like the next level. Okay, so
Yeah.
for happiness sake, we're making soup. What's the one hack we need to know as noobs, as soup noob makers? What would you tell us to do?
Use salt, season it, taste it, season it, and
Timeless.
yeah. Also, Phil, don't be scared to experiment. I don't really follow recipes because it's not as fun. So that's the reason I don't like baking because baking you have to follow the recipe or you can mess the whole thing up. With like soup, where you can just try a spice, try one or two new things, and it won't mess it up too bad, hopefully.
Baking is hard. I've been making peanut butter cookies. That's been like my quarantine other thing other than ramen. And you're right. Like you can't just put in half a cup of baking soda and like pray that it's going to turn out okay. It's
Yeah.
not.
How are the cookies?
They're like they look good, and my 2-year-old likes them, but there's a little left to be desired.
Hmm.
I wouldn't recommend making cookies with whole wheat.
Oh no, yeah. Just double the sugar.
Double the sugar.
And if they look good, they might be good for social media. Just take a picture.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
I should start posting them. We'll see what happens.
You should start
Everyone
a
loves a good.
yeah. Start an Instagram where you make food that looks really delicious but tastes really bad, and we can watch your face as you eat it. Great
Just
payoff.
make it out of Play-Doh.
Oh God, that would be popular. I'd predict. Yeah.
So Matt, anything else that we want to leave people with today? Any technologies? Anything that you would recommend for improving people's lives right now?
You know when I'm just not having a good day or I'm just not feeling it, I need a little extra boost. Do you know what I do?
What do you do? I don't know.
I sit down and I work on video games, man. You gotta learn how to code. That's what you gotta do.
Got to learn how to code.
Yeah.
Is it a stress reliever?
For me, it's a stress reliever because I really enjoy it. Plus, uh, I'm like the social media kids expressing themselves, except I'm doing it through a different medium. So I enjoy it, and I've been doing it so long, it's not stressful anymore. It's kind of like mindless, tedious work that can be relaxing.
So if you're a person that likes to repetition, are you a good candidate for designing games, or is it not like that?
I think people need to try it. That's the only way to find out. Try it.
It's the only way to find out.
Yeah.
So we've talked about your game development a couple of times. I was curious. Has a lot changed? I know games have changed in virtual reality, but are there any technologies that are out there right now that have really changed the game from a developer standpoint, or is coding pretty much the same as it was 5 years ago?
Not necessarily. It's changed for small developers like me or independent game developers that want to build something. There's a lot more tools and options for us to use now. Before it was more intimidating, especially when I started. There was like no great game engine you could just download and start playing. But now there's a huge community online. You can go online, say how to make a game in Unity, how to make a game in Unreal, how to make a game in Game Maker or Godot. There's all these different engines, and every engine has a community. Some are paid, some are free, but fundamentally you're doing the same thing. You're coming up with a concept and developing it, putting stuff in, trying to figure out the engine, seeing what you can do and what you can't do, and playing with mechanics and trying to tell a story through a game.
Nice. So if you're a developer or you're curious or you're just starting, find a community.
Yeah, and you can always reach out to me on social media at Me First Games. That's my handle on all the platforms.
Me First Games. Hit Matt up. He'd love to hear from you.
Oh yeah, let's build something.
Any last advice for our people that are curious into gamings? Anything else they should be checking out right now?
Anything else? Well, the Nintendo Switch is all sold out.
Oh,
Yeah, so you can't get them because of the quarantine, and everyone's freaking out. So
check out Steam. You put me onto Steam a while back, and I downloaded a game called Cuphead. You
mm,
have a game also.
yeah,
Um,
called Star Impact. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of Steam because everybody has Steam, man.
it's everyone can have it. That's the cool thing
Yeah,
about it. You can download a game onto your computer and you can play Star Impact right now.
yeah. It's kind of like an app store for more serious games. You download on your PC or your Mac. Download a bunch of small indie games. Download Star Impact, and pick something you like. Play it a little and see if you like it. And they always have deals going on. So I think they have some sales going on right now, actually. So check it out.
So if you're not a gamer and you want to start somewhere really easy, you don't have to invest in a console or anything. I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things you can do. And if you want a Nintendo Switch and it's sold out, you can find games like what they have on the Nintendo Switch there, and some of the games that they have
Mm-hmm.
also on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of just boost up independent game developers because we smaller teams will produce a lot of games that can run on your laptop if your laptop's not even that strong. So you can find these games on Steam under the independent games. Cuphead, for example, was made by small developers, and it runs on a lot of machines. Now, Cuphead's actually pretty hard, right?
It's so hard. Like I'm maybe past the first level. It's extremely difficult, but it's a beautiful game, nostalgic, kind of like that 1930 Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun, but very hard.
Yeah. So just
Harder than Battletoads.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you're right. That's the hardest
So
game in the world.
all right.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're so glad you joined us for this time right now so we can share some of our life improvements with you guys. Check out some games. Check out Star Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Check us out on social media, the Zero1 podcast. You can find us soon wherever podcasts are listened to. If you're listening to it right now, then you already know that. And what do you say, Matt?
I say find us on YouTube. Leave some comments. We're taking questions now. We're going to be start doing Q&A a little bit. So if you have something you want to
Yes.
ask, then feel free to ask, and we'll probably read it because there's not a lot of questions yet.
Yeah, and if you're like, well, they're not talking to me, we are. We're talking
Yeah.
to you. We'd love to answer some of your questions. That's going to be a fun new part of this. And teaser, we're hoping to get some people into the podcast as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you can look forward to that here in the near future, hopefully. Have a blessed day, and thanks for checking out the Zero1.
Bye bye.